So we're gonna continue with the second part of the design. Alright, so we had finished with the images. At the bottom I had stones, turtle, and stairs. Stones, the turtle, and the stairs. Right, so they are, we said that since we had here some spacing, there were some spaces because they were inline block. We had spaces for like from like as if it was text. We convert them into blocks, display block, and we added float left and the margin right, except to the last one. The last one does not have margin right, and that's why we we added a different class to it, last image. So they were all floating left. Once we're done, we clear the float and we're ready to go to our next section. Okay. So then after we have just some text underneath. So I'm going to create another division for that. And inside I have 3 more divisions. Each division has another title and a paragraph. So the last title that I used was an H2. So I'm going to go ahead and use some H3 here. And paragraphs. Now each one of them have a width, have a height. There's some margin in between, but they all look the same. So I will need just one single selector to apply to all of them. Okay, they will all float left, so I need a final division that will clear float. Okay, so this one, let's give it a class bottom content. Perfect. Then the first one has some weird title there. Then some lorem ipsum. I'm just gonna copy some of here. Same title, doesn't matter. Alright, so then back to CSS, class, bottom content. What I want is each division, I want them to have a specific width. Okay, so each one will have a 300 pixel width. Float left. And since my wrapper is of 1000 and I have 3 of them, 3 times 300 makes 900. I still have space for another 100, so I'm gonna give them each a margin right of 33 pixels. Actually, I only need a margin right for the first one and the second one. The third one could get some margin, but it's not so important. Okay, we'll leave it like that. Margin right 33 pixels. And then inside each division, I know I have an H3, and I also know that I have a paragraph. Okay, so the H3, we know that the default of an H is the font to be bold, so this one, font weight normal. Also the color, (666). Same color maybe down here. The paragraph has some line spacing, so line height 160%. Okay, 180. So let's see. That's good. I have to make my title bigger, a lot bigger, actually darker. So maybe 999. Font size 26 pixels. Let's see. Bigger. And it's also darker. No, it's just darker. And I have space between, and I have space here, so margin bottom. Yeah, perfect. Now I need to have a margin on the top, but it's always better to apply margin bottom. So I'm gonna go back to my images, which were this one, image wrapper image, and all of them to have also a margin bottom of 15 pixels. Maybe more, 30. Yeah. I'm gonna add 40 pixels here and make the font bigger of the H3. There you go. That's more like it. Then I have to add this red area here. So again, it goes from left to right completely, 100% left to right. So I will need some kind of element that will go 100% across the screen. I'm going to use a footer, since that is the last part of my page. Then inside the footer, again, I have 3 more. So this footer will need inside a division that will be in the middle, so with a width of 1000 pixels, margin auto. I already have one class like that. It was the main wrapper, right? Main wrapper is exactly 1000 pixels margin auto. So I'm gonna recycle that class, use the same class, and apply it to the division inside footer. Okay, now footer is the one that goes 100% across the screen and has the background, the red background. internally I have a wrapper centering all the elements, and inside that wrapper I have 3 divisions. So I'm going to start with the footer. Okay, and the footer has some padding on the top. Has a background. That background is the red background. There. image01.jpg. image01.jpg. By the way, background URL. Okay, and that's it. I don't have to specify repeat, nothing else. That's by default. It's going to repeat everywhere. All right. Maybe a little padding at the bottom. You know what? I'm going to use 50 on the top, 0 right, 20 pixels at the bottom, 0 on the left. Alright, that should give me something to look at. Let's see. Oh, not yet. It's inside images. Okay. Okay, let's add some content. Maybe that's why, because there's nothing inside yet. So, okay. So we said I have 3 divisions inside. And you know what? Actually, those divisions inside, they look pretty much the same as the ones that I had on top, just that the color changes. So I also have inside, I'm going to name here now an H4 and a paragraph. So I need these 3 times. I'm gonna add the class. Well, not really. There's the footer. So footer main wrapper div. That's a great selector. Footer main wrapper div. Okay, so each one of them will be just like this here. Alright, then inside I have an H4, will be just like this one here, except that the color should be white. And there is a shadow. Let's see. There is a little shadow underneath the title. Okay? Whenever this happens is that I forgot somewhere to clear float. That's why the background is not really going down where it's supposed to be. So let's see. Oh no, hold on. Footer is inside main wrapper. Yes, this is the end of main wrapper. Okay, now it's still there somewhere. I didn't close my I didn't clear float from somewhere. Okay, yeah. The division class clear float is also taking these attributes. Bottom content div. The division clear float is also inside bottom content, so therefore it's also taking float left, margin right, 33 pixels, width. Even if there is a clear both, there is also another float, so I'm gonna have to go into clear float. And replace all of this. Float none, margin 0, width 0, just in case, height 0, and all of them are important. We want to replace any previous value, so we're going to give priority to all of them by saying important. There you go. Okay. Now the one that I'm missing to clear float here is the last division in the footer. So this is float left, float left, float left, here. There you go. I'm gonna add some space here. Right. So bottom content division, margin bottom, (40 pixels), and since division is also clear float, I'm gonna have to say margin bottom 0 pixels to clear float. So just all the margins 0 important, all the paddings. There you go. So now I can use clear float freely in any other part of my code, and it will not be overwritten the properties of margin, padding, width, and height. Margin bottom 60, just a bit more. All right. So yeah, we're saying about the shadow, and the color here is also white. So H4 has a shadow, text, shadow, and we need 3 values. The first one is for the pixels, how many pixels I want it horizontally to the shadow to appear, vertically, the blur, and the color. So the first 3 are units for vertical, horizontal, blur, and the color of the shadow. Okay, that is a very, do you see it there on the screen? No. Okay, I'm gonna make it black. Better? Okay, I'm gonna make it bigger just for you to see it, but it's there, okay? In my screen, like it shows. No? You don't see it? Okay, no blur. It's there, right? I'm gonna make it bigger.
Did you not answer the pizza guy? Yeah, I know.
Okay, so then the text shadow that I added is 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 1 for the blur, 0 for the value, and that's how it looks like. Pretty much like the other one. Okay, next, the text inside the paragraph. Color white. Good. Yeah, it's not white, this one. It's more like this. Yeah. Then also, did I clear float here? Yeah, that's done. Then in the previous one, the previous shadow, I actually used an image. I'm going to use a different technique here just to show a different approach. I'm going to use it as the background of the division, which would be like main wrapper. Okay. Now, if I apply the background to main wrapper, I have 2 main wrappers, so I don't want to have the background to both of them. I can be very specific about which main wrapper I want to add the background to, so I can select footer main wrapper, so only the one inside footer. Right? So footer main wrapper, background, URL, and I'm gonna use the one for the shadow. I can just go back here, and the image for the shadow is this one here. Now this image, I do not want it to repeat, so no repeat. I want it at the bottom of my division and centered. Then I also need some space, so padding bottom, like 100 pixels. So let's see. Perfect. There's my shadow right in the middle, and I have my space. There's a lot more space here. Also, there is a line height for the paragraph, so let's go back to the paragraph. Line height 180 pixels percent. Maybe 150 here. There you go. Okay, and finally just the little text at the bottom, which it doesn't matter if it's margin auto or not because it's centered, so I just need another division down here as long as it's inside the footer. Okay, I'm gonna call this class legal. And Legal is just going to have the font color white. Also a smaller font size. And text align center. Okay, and basically just has like it just have like copyright Untitled Inc. So the copy sign is ampersand copy semicolon Untitled Inc. All rights reserved, and some lorem ipsum. There you go. It's also lighter, the font, the color. Let me see if I can get it from here. Let's try that. Yeah, and bigger. That was also the same color for my paragraph here. There you go. Alright, so next we're gonna work with position absolute for trendy bees. So I'm gonna go back to the header. So header was supposed to finish here. I'm gonna just give a long margin bottom to give that space for me. So header will just get a long margin bottom. Let's see if that's enough. Maybe it's probably more, 250. Okay. So now in this area, that's where I'm going to put my logo. Okay. This here is actually a font taken from Google Fonts. So I'm gonna create. Look at this. Since this is position absolute, I can place the logo wherever I want. Could be here. I'm gonna give it an ID. It could be here. It doesn't matter because I'm going to position it in any place inside the body. As long as it's inside the body, and I'm going to use position absolute, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to start by putting it here, down here, just to trace the difference. All right. So this division ID logo, let's say that we're gonna give it a width and a height. So a width of 430, a height of 200 pixels. So now that's an ID. So I'm gonna use the ID sign, which is the number sign, logo. Width, what was it? 430 pixels. height 200 pixels. Okay. Now inside logo, I'm gonna have the actually the logo is a title H1. That says trendy bees. And underneath I have a slogan, this one right here. I'm just gonna add a span. Okay, so just like that, there it is. There's my logo, and it actually pushed the rest down because it's taking some space, obviously, right? If it has a width, a height, well, I can simply just like say margin auto, right? Internally text align center, and that would align exactly the way I want it. I just have to change the color of trendy bees, the font, and I'm done. That is the easiest way of doing it, right? Then I wouldn't add so much margin. The division will take a specific size, and it will automatically everything fit. That's the easiest way. That's the right way. But we have to learn how to use position absolute, because there is many other circumstances in which margin auto doesn't work so well for us. So we're gonna have to use a position absolute. For example, have one of those light boxes or pop-ups that they appear right in the middle of the screen on top of our text, right? That one has to be position absolute. We cannot margin auto that because it's on top of something. So we have to take it and position it right there on top of whatever we want in the middle. So we're going to take this as an example to learn to do that. Let's finish first with the design. Trendy bees is red color, the same red as maybe as my links here. And it's very big. Okay, that's huge. By the way, I'm supposed to be doing this only to logo H1. Alright, so the font is taken from Google Fonts, and that is this one, Dancing Script. Okay, quick use. I'm just going to copy the link. Paste it inside the head together with my other font. Right, and the way to use the font is font family Dancing Script cursive. So that will go right here. Alright, now let's take a look at it. Much better. Trendy bees. Okay. Let me try something like font weight normal. Yeah, much better. Alright. And finally, this one here should be a lot bigger. So the logo span Too big. And it's also like more condensed. So letter spacing minus 2 pixels. Let's see. So then actually it's bigger. And the color is definitely lighter. Yep. Perfect. Okay. I have to move it a bit higher here. So a little trick for that, because there's no margins, right? A little trick for that is to apply a margin top negative. So I'm gonna move it up minus 15 pixels. Right. I have to make it a block. It's a span, and the span cannot take padding, margins, borders the same way as blocks. So I'm gonna make the span a block. There you go. Now as a span, I can modify the margin top negative, and that goes up. Right? But 15 was fine. There. All right. So that's good. I mean, if I remove the margin top that I gave here, it will look pretty much the same as this. I'm missing the shadow. Logo. I'm going to add a padding at the bottom. Like 30 pixels, and background. It's the same background as before, the shadow. It's right here. No repeat, bottom center. Same thing. There. To the logo division. There you go. So as I was telling you, if I didn't have the margin here from the header, basically this margin, right? I'm pretty much done. That's the right way to do it. That's the easiest way to do. Okay? Again, I'm gonna do this just to show you how to use position absolute, but this is the best way of doing it. Give it a width, margin auto. We're done. So, I'm gonna go back to footer, to a logo. Okay? Logo, which is the division wrapping my logo. And I'm going to give it a property, a styling, which is position absolute. I'm going to start by top 0, left 0, which are the defaults. Okay, the default when you put position absolute, top 0, left 0. It went there. So my margin is still there. The margin from the header is still there. But now the logo is not longer part of the height of the document. It's behaving by itself somewhere else. Okay? If I remove the margin bottom from the header again, you will see that everything is together. Meaning TrendDBs is not taking any space. It's floating somewhere. Okay? Has position absolute. And I can manipulate the position absolute as if they were coordinates For example, I want to bring it from top to bottom. I'm going to bring it 40 pixels down, and from the left 400 pixels from the left. Right? So from the top to the bottom there is 50 pixels. Okay, somewhere there 50 pixels, and from the left there is around 400 pixels there, 400 pixels. So that's what I'm doing, 400 from the left, 50 from the top. Now there are some rules. Position absolute, it's going to position itself according to the closest parent with position relative. What does that mean? So let's say that this is my screen. Okay, that is my body. Inside that body I have some wrapper, and inside that wrapper I have some element. Okay, if I assign to this element, no matter where it is, in this case it is inside of the wrapper. Okay, if I give it position absolute, top 0 left 0 is gonna go here, top 0 left 0 from the body, because the body by default has position relative, meaning all his children are relative to him. Their positioning is relative to him. If I change the positioning of the wrapper to relative, since this child is inside the wrapper, now it will be positioned here, top 0 left 0 from the closest parent with relative position. If I remove position relative from the wrapper, then it goes back here. So it's going to look for the closest one with relative position. If I have another division inside, okay, and this element is actually inside of it, and I give position absolute again to this element, top 0 left 0, and none of them have position relative, it's gonna go to the body. If I assign position relative to the yellow one, it's gonna go to the yellow one. If I assign position relative to the orange, it's gonna go to the orange. If all of them have position relative, it's gonna go to the closest parent with position relative. Therefore, it will be the yellow one, because he is inside the yellow one. If this element was inside the this orange, light orange one, not inside the yellow, if it was inside the orange one, and all of them have position relative, and this one has position absolute, it will not go inside. It's gonna go the closest parent. So this is the one. Okay? So I'm gonna get rid of the yellow one now. Okay? And let's imagine now that I am working with this element in position absolute, my orange square, this one is relative. Top 0, left 0 goes there. Top 0, right 0 goes here. Bottom 0, right 0. Bottom 0, left 0 goes here. So if let's say I want to position it here, and I'm going to give a height. The height of my element is I don't know, the height is 600 pixels. That's the height. And exactly at this point here, that is 400 pixels. So I could either say from the top to the bottom, top 400, and then left, I don't know, whatever pixels I have from the left. So let's say from the left is half of this. So this is a total is 500 pixels. So exactly at this point here will be 250, right? Okay. So here, this area, this point, I'm gonna change this into square. I'm sorry, I have to do that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. Perfect. So if I say top 400, left 250, it's gonna be there. If I say top 500, right 250, it's going to be there. If I say bottom, now it's 200, right? Bottom 200 and left 250. From the left to the right is 250. From the bottom to the top is 200. Left to the right, so left 250, then it's gonna come here. Okay? Now, if you understand that, then I can use percentages. If I say left 50%, it's going to be here. If I say right 50%, it's going to be here. So how can I center it? How can I have it exactly in the middle? Well, the answer to that is either choosing left 50% or right 50%. Okay, let's say I choose left 50% and they apply a margin left, which should be half of the width of my element. So I'm gonna draw another line here. This is half of my element, right? So left 50% minus half of my element will be exactly there. Half of my element. And that centers it exactly in the middle of the screen. No matter what size of screen, because I'm using percentages. Even if the screen is a lot bigger, okay, 50% of that screen minus 50% of the width of the element. So, coming back to this example, I'm gonna put back the margin from the header. So margin top, we're gonna put it back. There you go. And here in this case we added some left size, left 400 pixels, right? It looks kind of in the middle, but if I resize my screen, look, it's not in the middle, it stays there. It's position absolute, right? It's just there, it's not gonna move. But if I use left 50% and then margin left minus half of the element, 430, half of 430, 215 pixels, that will put it exactly on the middle, and it will always be in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna bring it down a bit more, so from the top 80 pixels, let's see, there you go. And that was the way to position this on the middle with position absolute. Now I'm gonna show you as well how to position these little sprites that I have here for the emails for Pinterest on the left side, like in the template, right? So that they're always there. They're always on the left of the screen, even if the screen is super big, always on the left. Or we can program them to be always on the right. Okay, using the sprites. On hover, we're gonna change the color, right? First, the original color should be dark, and on hover should become blue, the Facebook logo, and we're gonna make it to come out a bit. So we're gonna change the position as well. On hover, it's gonna come out a bit and change the color. I think I have a live example here. Yeah, so something like this, and then on hover. So this is achieved with position absolute. Okay.